everybody, photographer Patrick Jones back at it again, and today I want to talk about Capture One versus Lightroom. Now everybody knows that Capture One is such an amazing, more professional program, and there are some reasons why. And there's also some reasons why it is at like $300. However, if you are a Sony shooter, that means Sony A99, A900, any Sony for that matter, there is a Sony Pro, so it's Capture One Pro Sony version only. Now, why Capture One decided, hey look, I'm gonna sit here and partner with Sony and release a version just for Sony? It is like $59 versus $300. So Sony people, if you chose Sony, the underdog back in the day, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago, and no one considered you a professional, well, Phase One did. They released a version of Capture One just for you, me, and so that way we can actually get in here and process our files the way they're intended to. And I'm sure that's probably because Phase One and Sony have had a great sense of relationship, so maybe. I'm not sure why, but so today I'm going to kind of cover the differences between skin tone and sharpness. I tend to like Capture One's better over Lightroom. However, I love Lightroom's workflow over Capture One. But saying that, I'm also like not a super professional, like high volume photography editor. So the stuff that I do are simply for my clients, and I try to find a workflow that works best. Lightroom has speed in terms of workflow, but Capture One has a lot of great raw engine processing, and I feel like I'm finally getting the hang of the speed. So let's go ahead and dive in and take a look at some differences between like skin tones and sharpness between Capture One and Lightroom, and then also I'll cover other little points like workflow and what I do, and then how that translates into Capture One, and the short keys that I've set up in Capture One to sort of mimic. There are some faults that I haven't yet figured out because again, I'm pretty new to Capture One. Version 8, however, I've never again fully committed over to saying, okay, this is what I'm doing. But this is, I'm making 2017 this commitment to master Capture One version 10, which just came out. So I'm already digging in the past week. I've put about 50, 60 hours into it. So hopefully I'll be able to speed up my workflow. And hopefully as I continue to do videos, maybe on Capture One or Lightroom, the way I have things set up, maybe that will help you with your editing. So I hope it really does. That's kind of the reason why I'm taking the time to do these videos, is hopefully it helps somebody out there. So again, I'm photographer Patrick Jones. Let's tune right into my screen flow and see how we do it. Okay guys, we're here on my 5K iMac, and I will say that I hope you guys like my A99 Mark II focus point wallpaper. I actually had to make this myself because, well, nothing was available. I don't think there still is, but if you want this, let me know. I've got it for a iPhone 6 Plus as well as, which of course scaled down, and then I have it for the iMac 5K. So let's look at the operating opening directly into the catalog test. It's not exactly science, but you know, we'll get close. So we'll start this and then double click. And then click lap, boom, which is 6 seconds or 5.3 seconds. So roughly about 4 to 5 seconds, okay? So let's go ahead and stop and close this guy down. Closes pretty fast. Now we'll go to Capture One 9, here we go, okay. Try to get this pretty close so we don't have to mouse over quite a bit. Okay, so that was 5 seconds. Let's go ahead and start. Okay, and that was give or take 7 to 8 seconds. So a little bit longer. Previews looking pretty good. Let's stop this. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up Lightroom. Keep them both open at the same time. As a matter of fact, what we'll do is we'll put one on one side. Actually, let's talk about this. Okay, so in Lightroom, you have some screen panel options. Full screen with menu, preview, yada yada. You can change your secondary display and what it does. And of course you can have your panels up or off, zoom mode. That's pretty much it. You don't have a lot of ability to take this panel off and put it someplace else or remove it. You do have single mode or solo mode is what they call it. So you can, of course, run that, which if you right click, just hit solo mode, and it will collapse all panels except for the one you have open. So kind of cool. I usually run that, not in grid mode, but everything else. So actually, I'll just take it off of solo mode. There we go. And then over here, you have an area for your folders and your catalog information, your collections, as well as where you're exporting them off to. If we develop one file, we'll go in our develop module. You'll have a place for all your creatives. These are the Lightroom presets I offer for sale at sirjones.com/store. So if you want to purchase these, they're stupid cheap. They're like $5. And as you can see, my basic is basically a full workflow from start to finish on an image beside major, like, removing spots and stuff. So, so that's that one. I've got some black and whites and some creatives, some mattes, some vintage, and I have yet to release Creative 2 yet, so I'm still working on that one. But, so essentially this is what it looks like. Let's go ahead and reset this image back to its coming into Lightroom phase. So this is what it looks like when it came right in. So basically straight out of camera, minus what the raw engine actually does as it imports the image. On the right, we have our histogram. Again, not movable, not adjustable. We can expand it a little bit, but it really doesn't change the height. It just drags out basically the horizontal plane of the histogram. We've got all of our tools here. We have our basic adjustments, our tone curve, and some other details that we can get into, but we won't. So that's pretty much it. Straightforward. Oh, and then if we want to bring up our browser's down here, and we can collapse and hide that panel. Whether you just hit the tab option, it will remove them, or tab. Yeah, it's pretty simple, right? If you want to do all of it, I'm pretty sure it's Shift Tab. Yep, there they go. So Shift Tab brings everything down, Shift Tab takes everything away, and then just Tab removes the two sidebars, which are your tools, basically, and your browser. So pretty cool, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So that's straight raw out of camera. Now, let's just hide this for the moment, and we'll switch over to Capture One. I hit Command Tab to switch that over like that, by the way, if you guys were wondering. So there we go. This is Capture One. Let's start off in the same mode. On the right, and I did this kind of on purpose, but not really. So by default, yours should come set up like this. So if you go to Workspace, you can go to Default. And so when you open it up for the first time, this is exactly what it looks like. Now I have my own, and it's right here. So, but let's look at the developing, because I added some stuff up here. It's all customizable. So, okay, so let's take a look at, it's got the library here, just like Lightroom. There's actually a little bit better organization built into the program. So when you do a session, I will have a video on what the difference between a session and a catalog is. It's pretty easy, but people complicate it, and it drives me nuts. So, so here we go. We get the capture folder, the select folder, the output folder, and the trash folder. Boom. Got our 5 stars. We got all images. Then we got our system folder, and then you can path everything to where everything is. It's kind of cool. Down here we have our basically the way we filter our images. We have 30 with no ratings. We have 11 that are green, 18 that have none. It actually has places, yada, yada, yada. Okay, and the right we have the browser. If we go over, it's the same tools, there are a lot more, of course, like tethering options built right in. Of course, this talks about live view too. If you go over here, you'll click live view. So if your camera can live view, I'm not talking like Sony's EVF technology or Canon and Nikon's quote unquote live view. But this actually sends the video signal from the camera to the computer so you can actually see live what you're shooting, and then you can turn it off. I've got another video on that, so check my channel. And then you come over to like lens corrections, and then you can go into your colors. As you can see, this is definitely a lot more detailed, a lot more awesome. Here's your histogram. Now, one gripe I do have with them is that, excuse me, is that you can't drag the height of these windows, but you can separate everything. So like I was showing you earlier, I mean, you can drag left and make it horizontal, which it does the exact same thing in Lightroom. Gets stuck right here. This is the new release for version 10. So I'm sure there's a couple little bugs they're trying to work out, but that's pretty much it. And it also does expand a lot wider than, then it gives you more flexibility in that. But like you saw me a second ago, I could take this and I could actually put this down here. I could take it and just leave it independent by itself. I mean, it's pretty rad. There we go. So I'm gonna put it back up here, but we got our exposure and our dynamic range, our levels, which is awesome. Then we have our curve adjustments, clarity and vignetting, and that's just within our color essentially. And then we have our navigator, which talks about focusing, talks about sharpness, noise reduction, anything that has to do with the actual image. This is our adjustments layer. As you can see, I've completely touched up this image. Pretty epic, pretty cool. So what I'll actually do, like I did with the other one, let me just go over these really fast. You got your presets here. Again, this isn't like Lightroom though. It's not like a brush preset. I've kind of dug into it a little bit, but in all honesty, it doesn't feel like it's the same way. Then you got your metadata information here, and then this is actually called your recipes. So we call them exports in Lightroom. However, in Capture One 10, which goes back to 8 that I know of, if not further, you set up these recipes and you basically just check mark them. And each of those, you kind of set each of those up right here. It's super in depth and it's so freaking cool. Like, I just absolutely love it in here. This is, metadata information is all pretty standard right here. Watermark stuff. So I love it absolutely 100%. And then let's see, there's a batch cap if you have like multiple projects going on. Now, one of the major differences between Capture One and Lightroom for me is while this is working on exporting my recipes, which is actually super duper fast, I can actually open up another catalog or another session simultaneously. I can have 2 projects open at the exact same time. Lightroom, it's one project and that's it. You don't really get a choice. So that was always a gripe with me. However, with Capture One, that definitely solved that. So that's pretty much it right here. Another benefit with Capture One, and I know I'm kind of like all over the place, but I just love how simple this is. So we have our warnings indicator right here. Boom, how fast that turned on, right? We also, if we go into I have my custom workspace set up. Watch, it will change pretty fast. Doesn't look like much, but it does. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at our panel here. We'll drag this over. Look at how awesome this is, right? I love this. Okay, so this is one of my favorite tools. Let's get these guys bigger. One of my favorite tools with Capture One is this right here. You ready? It shows me what's exactly in focus on every image. It is super duper awesome. So if you don't believe, like, it's gonna help culling so much faster than trying to go through and try to magnify in to see if it's in focus. You could set the parameters up on this, but it's pretty close. I mean, like, it's 99% close. So that's a fast way to see if everything's in focus so you can cull faster. So like, for example, this one right here, you can see based on that right there that the eye right here isn't that sharp, right? Okay, so watch, let's take that off. One of the benefits with Capture One over Lightroom is you hit P and you can actually get a real loop. So remember that said it wasn't in focus. Well, check that out. It's not 100% in focus. So that's the reason why it showed it wasn't, but this one it did. See, look at that. So one of the massive benefits with Capture One is the loop and this awesome focus checker. And then you can see if you have any skin tones that are blown out, plus 255. So now let's talk about the tabs because we're doing a fair comparison here. So we've got this browser here, and it's fully adjustable. Unlike Lightroom, it's just down at the bottom. Of course, you can move it, but to get rid of it, again, it's not as easy as Tab or Shift Tab. It's actually Apple T for Tools, Apple B for Browser. That's it. But the cool thing too is if I want these, if I want the tools on the right and the browser on the bottom, it's fully customizable again. So all you do is go down here to View, and then I can place the browser below. And then from there, I can come in and adjust those images. So if that workflow works best for you, you can do it that way. If I want my tools on the right, you can put them on the right. Like, how amazing is that? It's so super handy. It's got these quick tools up here, which you can use or not use. Of course, shortcuts are always going to be the fastest. So that's it. So let's take that one image. Let's go back to our main window here. Workspace, Patrick's editing. So we're going to go here, and then the cool thing, because there's actually technically 30 images in here, right? So we've got 30 images total. And so essentially what we could do is just click no rating, like we don't even care. And here's all of our images, okay? You can also click here and it will show you all the images, okay? So let's do that. Okay, here's all our images. We'll make them really small so you can see there's 30 images or so in there. So we've got all of our images. Yep, there's 1, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 6, 30. Okay, so we got 30 images in here, but I showed 3 that I was working on, and so I went ahead and put 3. I basically duplicated some so that way I can work on them. So we're gonna click V, and it's kind of like Photoshop too. Like some of the commands are the same, like V equals pointer in both programs. So let's go. We'll just turn. So with Lightroom, you would have to set up your. Do I have this open still? I do. So if you wanted to see all your greens, you would have to go here, create a smart collection, edit that smart collection. From that smart collection, you would have to sit here, and that's how you're going to be able to see them. So, so you have to create this workflow. With Capture One, all you have to do is basically select the color, thump, and now there it is. Now we're showing only greens. So I do like that. And for time's sake, we're going to kind of get faster into this. I just want to, I think a lot of videos, they focus on a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. I think this is like, again, the working man's overview, kind of like if you needed to get to know this pretty fast, you would probably watch this video and I might have a lot of information to help you start running with it instead of just a crawl. So that's how simple it is. If we wanted to get the things with no rankings on, we could. If we wanted just the one ranking, and the difference is 2 partners in one client in one business. They chose 11. They chose 1. Or actually they chose 12, and this happened to be a duplicate. So that was that one they liked. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our greens, so we can find the duplicated image that we were working with. Let's take off. We have to take that off so we can't see it. Okay, so let's go to this one, which happens to be this one right here. It looks like. No, it's the one with the softbox in the shot, right? Oh, we didn't reset it yet. Okay, so let's go back to green. And let's bring up this guy right here. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make a clone of it, which is basically a variant. It's called a variant, but we're gonna make one. So we're gonna make a new variant, and we're gonna do a new one, but we don't want the settings on it. So, see, that's a cool thing is like, if I were to make a clone in Lightroom, it would clone it. With this, what it does is it makes the clone, but it doesn't, where did the image go? But what it doesn't do is it doesn't take all the, see, it's right here. So I'm actually gonna turn it green. See if so let's do this. Let's back out, take that out. Let's go back to green. So we wanted to take this one right here. Let's make a variant, but we're going to do a clone variant. So it keeps the color, it keeps the rating, keeps all the processing. And so now it will put it right next to it. Say, so 1 and 2. So we're going to take number 1 here. We're actually going to promote this guy to make him the, we're going to promote the variant to number 1. So that way we can basically take number 2 and erase them. So, and then we're going to reset this one completely so it's back to scratch like the other one, beside what Capture One does to it. Okay, so now we're going to hide our tools in our browser. I'm going to shrink this down, and then we're going to look at the raw one over here. And then we're going to hide those panels. Oops. Boom. Okay, and we're going to drag this over. So this will give you a clean idea of what each is doing to the image right off the bat. So this left, she had a very gold bronzer on. So her true skin tone, and she was surprisingly tan, for everything was actually closer to here. This is very washed out. It has nothing to do with the raw. So each of these essentially has a startup. This is actually as blank as you can get. This actually has stuff processed to it. I love the hair color. Let's look at the sharpness. Let's do this. We'll go ahead and zoom in. What percentage? And so the cool thing about here is I can actually look in and see where my percentage is. Okay, so let's do a 200% crop zoom in on our eye. And then let's check our focus test to see if we're on the right eye. And let's do the other eye because it's sharper. I couldn't remember which image that was. Okay, so here we go. And then on here, we will bring our tab in and we will do a 2:1 on that eye. Now, tell me which raw engine processes the image better. Oh, by the way, I don't know why that says my wife's name, but anyways. So this is the sharpness value that's coming out of Capture One. This is the sharpness value that's coming out of Lightroom. Do you see a difference? I mean, you can clearly see the difference. So now you're saying, Patrick, well, this is still doing stuff to the image as it's coming in. This is bone dry. Well, it is providing my camera's profile that it's created of my camera. So let's take a look at that really fast. So let's go ahead and open up our tools. Oh, we're not on the right one. Here we go. Now, if you go in here and then go to color. So in our color, we have an ICC profile. It actually picks the A99 Mark II generic. I just can't get over how amazingly different these two images are. Look at the sharpness, man. This is the reason why I've moved over to Capture One. Okay. So in here, we can adjust, basically, you could pick your camera. So if, let's say you shoot Canon, you can go over here and you can try to find the 5D Mark IV, Mark 5S, whatever. There's a Mark IV right there. You can choose, there's Fuji, I mean, there's a lot, right? So there's the new K1 from Pentax, and then there's Sony and all the Sony stuff. These are more relevant to everybody else. There's the A99 Mark II, which is what's set on now. But if you go to effects and no color correction, it shows you the preview of what it's going to look like as it is. Now that's closer to there, but look at how magenta-y this one is versus this one. So let's get out of here. Let's go back to 100%. Well, let's stick at 60. And then here, we'll zoom out. Well, actually, let's just get rid of our stops. I hate when I do that in the wrong program. There we go. And then in here, there we go. So, as you can see, this is like bare bones. This is no changes, no updates, no color profiles, and this is what they do for no color profiles. I don't think we can zoom in. I guess we could if we had that little bar. So anyways, let's back out. But again, if you look at the sharpness factor, the sharpness is still there. So look at that. It's sharper. The skin details and tone, I like it all. But again, since I shoot what I shoot, having that profile is not that big of a deal. So skin tones, completely unedited. This is still a better skin tone. See how magenta? It's just so weird. And then if we put that back on, I always have to go and click back and forth. Oh, it's Apple B. I don't know why it's not working. Hold on a second. It's weird. Let's go back to color. And now we're going to go back here and do our A9A Mark II. We have two to choose from, generic or standard. So I mean, we'll do both so that way you can see them. We can actually make this smaller, get the image out better. Okay, so there we go. And standard's going to add, it looks like it adds a little bit of green to those tones. Not a huge fan. But skin tone wise, this is more accurate to what she looked like, so I'm not going to have to go in and change any of that skin tone. You can actually see those gold flakes, that bronzer or whatever in her powder. It's really, yeah, I've never worked with someone who's used that, so she's probably very pale in real life, and that's where, here you go, you can kind of see back there, so she missed a spot out by her ear. So there's definitely the two different skin tones there. Yeah, this is a pretty long video, but I hope it's kind of informative. We've talked about the layout, workflow-wise, shortcuts. The biggest deal is when you're using the brush tool. This is the hardest workaround, is when you're using something like the heel brush. You have to either add a new layer, a new clone layer, or a new heel layer. Those are really your options. You do have a gradient mask that you can put in, which is really awesome. It's basically just like Lightroom's. I think it's a little bit more precise and a little bit more controllable. And you can, of course, brush in and erase out the stuff just like Lightroom. It doesn't have a radial filter yet, so a radial mask. However, I use those very on occasion, I wouldn't say that much. So skin detail, I definitely like it better. Sharpness, I like it better, or skin tone, I should say. And then as for workflow, this is a better, it's just so customizable, be able to drag stuff and make everything independent. And you can change it to create a floating tool. So there's so much stuff. Like if I wanted, this is like the brush setting, but if I wanted a tool in here, I can add all of this inside of there. And this goes the same for any of them. So if I go over here to color and I wanted to add, you know, something non-color related, I wanted to add my levels in here, I could totally do that. So you can actually make a toolbar on this side that fits 100% you. So, you know, you can call it a custom setting for, let's say, the color one, and you can just leave the color balance, and then you can add basically every tool or remove the tools. It's so cool. So that's it for now, guys. I'm photographer Patrick Jones. If you have any questions, please hit me up in the comments, and I can dive in. I've got about 8 videos coming on for Capture One and kind of the basics and how to transition and move over. A lot I haven't seen on YouTube, so I thought I would cover like the working man. My job is to try to create an image as fast as I can. So speaking of that, I'll do some quick comparisons for you. I actually took some screenshots. That's always annoying. I hate that, having to sit here and go through that. I actually created some screenshots. This is C1 flat versus Lightroom. And if you want, I could send these out to you guys if you want them. There's C1 versus LR. This is a Lightroom on another image coming in. I wanted to do a darker image, and so that's that one. And then what I did is I did a time session. So I did a Lightroom full-time session of what it takes me per image, and it's down here, 7 minutes and 8 seconds for this one. That was a pretty hard one because there's a lot of shadows right here. 4 minutes and 42 seconds for this one, and 4 minutes and 15 seconds for this one. Now you'll see that my skin tones, they're all off by a little bit on each one, as well as the lightness, as well as the color. And it's really hard to get your skin tones like consistent with that, but with Lightroom, with Capture One, there's actually a really cool setting in there that will help you. Now, again, I'm not a professional, so again, you'll see this one's off. This is a little brighter than that one, but ultimately the skin tones are the same because of something called skin tone in here in the color editor, so you'll be able to see that. But my first image took me 6 minutes, second image took me 8 minutes because I was goofing around, and then third image took 4 minutes. So comparing them, you know, they're actually pretty, I'm getting better, but I'm definitely a couple minutes faster. Again, the other one took me 8 minutes, that took me 7, that took me 5 seconds faster in Lightroom on that one, and that one took me like 2 minutes faster, I think, in the other one. So so it's definitely worth checking out. If you're a Sony shooter, it's $59, not that big of a deal. Again, I hope this has helped. Please ask questions, because that's how I kind of make these videos. I'm going to be doing quite a bit of them, but if I have an idea of what specific you're looking for, perhaps I could throw that into it. So I'm photographer Patrick Jones, sirjones.com/store. If you want to buy my Lightroom presets or any of my cloud overlays or other stuff. So I'm photographer Patrick Jones. See ya.